Boom.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Self-Publishing Podcast. Feels like a long time because this has been the longest weeks ever, basically. And we didn't record last week. Did we record the week before that? I don't even remember.
I think so.
I think so.
Okay. Well,
it's like 100 episodes.
Wait, no, we didn't record the week before that because I picked Dave up at the airport.
Oh, yeah, and it's been three. Let's recount.
It's been a year.
For all of you who listen every week and never notice time discontinuities, let's make sure that we precisely delineate on the calendar how this is all working. But no, but it has been 3 weeks for us at least, and it was a long 3 weeks. So today we're going to do, and I can't wait to hear Dave's takeaways because we're going to be great. But we're going to talk about like. The biggest takeaways from the Smarter Artist Summit 2017 for those of you who were there and for those of you who weren't, because they're like, if you weren't able to be there, we can bring a little bit of the summit to you. And so this is we're kind of punting. We actually had another topic in mind, which we'll push back. It just seems we're kind of high on this right now, but it's been so long. It's been such a long period of time that I'm kind of out of it. I'm hoping one of your two something cools is going to tell the story of what happened before the summit, just between the three of us, just in general, but maybe not.
Maybe I don't know. You're something cool since we're both.
Because I already have a something cool picked out. It's not like a thing. It's just like, we picked Dave up at the airport and then we.
Oh, okay. I can do my something cool. Dave something cool can be that he's still alive after his trip to Austin, which he didn't expect to be.
Does Dave remember that he came here?
No, he doesn't. So this is funny. So we actually did have a different topic, and like Johnny said, we're pushing it forward because we wanted to share the summit with you guys. And Dave said, well, isn't that kind of shitty because people who didn't go to the summit, now you're just rubbing it in their faces. And we said, well, no, because that's so not the point. We want to talk about we had 6 great speakers and there were some major takeaways, and we can kind of do just like a brief synopsis of each little speaker. And well, they weren't little speakers; they were normal sized speakers. Each of the speakers, and then what was our takeaway? And then Dave says, well, I hope you're prepared for that. And I said, well, of course I was there.
I like the Dave voice, but.
And he's like, well, I don't remember shit.
It is a good Dave voice.
So it's just kind of funny because Dave was there with us.
Dave had that Dave voice by the end. He was,
To be fair, Dave wasn't really with us so much as with the bathroom crew. Do you think
that was day 2?
Do you think Dave spent more time with us or in the bathroom on day 2?
If we were to have it at a place that was even fancier and they had one of the attendants in the bathroom, they'd probably know each other's whole life story.
Oh, sure. I'm just thinking next year we have the whole summit in a bathroom. Do you like that idea?
What are you thinking there, Mr. Wright from Small?
Fuck you.
Dave, do you think it would be an improvement or not if we had the whole thing in a bathroom?
I hate you.
All right, so Johnny, you have something cool?
Was that the end of yours? We just spent a bunch of time together. It was great. We haven't actually done that for an extended period of time.
Well, okay, I'll start with
see a movie
cool, yeah, I'll do something cool on the Monday before the summit. So we had our stone table over the weekend, and then we had Monday. But basically, we didn't do anything. Or no, we did a lot of stuff, but we didn't put anything on the calendar because we had a pretty full Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday was the summit. So we had a lot of things back to back to back. So Monday, we decided we are not going to put anything on the calendar. We're just going to hang out. We're going to have an SPP day of fun is what we called it.
I think it's the first time all 3 of us have hung out with absolutely no obligations.
Yes, that's
absolutely
point. That is why we didn't have any obligations. It was, okay, we've got to just have fun. And so it was amazing. We drove around neighborhoods seeing where Dave might live if he moves to Austin. And we went to a movie and, got to play with the rules of Dave, make sure that no one sat too close to him or shared his phone.
Sean was ready to thwart or just flaunt the rules of Dave. He tried to pack 3 people in a row at the movie theater with Dave in the middle. So number one, we would have been right next to Dave, and he would have been in the middle. And I kind of looked at him and I said, you don't want to be right next to us, do you? He goes, well, no, I was trying to decide if I was going to say anything. And then I said, and you want a space between us, right? So it was me and Sean in 2 adjacent seats, then an empty seat, and then Dave. And the Alamo serves their popcorn in these big giant, like a giant metal bowl, and it's just kind of, they refill it, and it's all you can eat. It's great popcorn. And so Sean was like, "We'll get a popcorn for all of us." I'm like, "Dude, Dave's not going to want to stick his hands into the same popcorn as your filthy ass hands." So we got him his own bowl, everything.
No, I'm sure you all are fucking licking your fingers and sticking your hands back in there.
Oh yeah, because when you eat the popcorn, you get fingers in your mouth and everything, and then
I like to tickle my asshole between handfuls, actually. So
that's something cool that we did.
Yeah, and it was really fun. It was fun to spend. I've never spent a week with Dave either. It was Friday to Friday. That's a lot of Dave.
Too much Dave, really.
But it
about
was
one day more Dave than anybody.
It was really great. My only sadness through all of this was that we had a really great meal. I don't know, it was the thing Wednesday night.
That was sad.
Yeah, this was one of my favorites. So we went. It was like a downtown barbecue place, and Dave says, "There's only one."
Would you please give me a normal fucking voice?
So I'm hamming it up now. There's only one thing I can eat on the menu, and
sounds like Randy Savage.
I didn't.
Macho Man.
I didn't even say anything. Sean asked me, "Is there anything you'd want here?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll eat something. When I get back to the lovely."
He asked for a kids meal.
Right. He asked for a kids meal.
I asked for a kids menu.
Menu. That's what I meant.
And so the only thing on the menu that he would eat under any circumstances was chicken, but it was chicken on, like on a spit, on a bone. And so he only eats chicken if man has his hands on it first and changes its ultimate form. And so
I prefer my chicken in the nugget or finger form.
Right. And they didn't have that. So as soon
as dinosaur.
As soon as they went to the bathroom, we asked the waiter if there was any local establishments where we could go get chicken nuggets and put them on his plate. And he told us about this great app called Favor where we could get fast food delivered. And we tried to have 30 chicken tenders delivered from Wendy's to his table, but it didn't work out because the Wendy's was under construction, which our Favor driver found out after they got there. So
joke would have been on you. I don't like Wendy's nuggets.
So Dave ended up, I believe, eating only waffle fries.
Yes, that was all he could order was waffle fries.
Yeah.
That's true. And they did have mac and cheese, but the cheese was goat cheese, and Dave was having none of that shit.
Yeah, and Sean goes, "Is it hipster mac and cheese?" to the waiter. And he goes, "Well, it has goat cheese." And I'm like, no, just stop right there.
Dave started crying.
Right. I did try the goat cheese mac and cheese, and it was awful. And you said, yeah, this isn't good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't like goat cheese for my mac and cheese. Although Tammy dug it.
So did you have anything cool this week, Dave? Doesn't have to be summit related.
Not a single thing.
How about getting back home? How about leaving Austin?
Leaving Austin. No, my something cool is that it's actually, this week. I'm back on the walking Dave thing.
Oh, I am excited about.
Oh, I'm excited too. You mentioned, I'll just talk about that on walking.
Yeah.
But I literally ignored you.
Yeah, so did I, because I figured he meant worst show ever. He didn't mean more.
Yeah, no, I did too. I was like, typo.
And I got a new Fitbit, the watch. I'm not sure how well I'm gonna like the watch because I don't like wearing.
Give you cancer though?
Yeah, probably. But I figure, what the fuck. So yeah, that's my something cool, and I'll update you.
All right. Well, mine is actually the stone table. So this isn't. I mean, I'll try to move quickly because it's not going to be relevant to all of you. But I think that this is really cool in a way of Sterling and Stone. Sean hates when I say things like this, but it's kind of another way of we're trying to think outside the box. We're trying to reinvent things. You may have heard us mention we have a mastermind we've done it for 2 years called the Stone Table, and Sean did mention that we met this past weekend for the final session of year 2. But for year 3, we're redefining it. Like it's this whole new experience where we're doing way more between the live sessions, and the live sessions are you can kind of go to some and you don't have to go to all of them. And so it's this new model of mastermind where we're able to access way more. Like there's a lot of talent in our community, and we met a lot of them at the summit, and it was like, wow, this is kind of an amazing community. And so being able to get those people into the Stone Table in a model that kind of works for everybody is really exciting. So Anyway, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about seeing the evolution of the Stone Table. And we're actually closing applications probably by the time you listen to this on the 5th of May, but it'll come back. So
yeah, I don't think there's anything that we're doing right now that I'm more excited about, just because we kind of tore it down and put it back together. And I haven't seen anything like this. And we've talked about this idea with a lot of smart people and a lot of smart spaces who are all just kind of like blown away by it. And it's funny too, because in all of the positioning of this, from our original conception, when I told it to Johnny and then I told it to Christine, watching their faces, not quite getting it the first day and then coming back around. And then we've made some of that same mistake just talking about it, because when you invent something totally new, it's weird. It takes a while for people to kind of get it. And that's what we've done here. We've invented something totally new. And I'm just stupidly excited about it.
So there'll be a wait list after the application process closes. So if that does at all seem interested to you and you just want to get reminded, stonetable.io, because like StoryShop is storyshop.io. So stonetable.io, where we are taking applications for a little bit more time. But this is going to be really cool. So if you think that this might be a good community for you, it gives us a place to throw everything. Like what Sean was saying, we can be all in on this. A lot of the efforts that we've been thinking, well, we're going to do this. It's like, no. Let's just make a Stone Table as awesome as fuck. Like put everything in there that we can possibly do. From like what we're doing to grow the business and what we're learning, and just like I was geeking out about some like finance and internal stuff, but also we're very open in the existing Stone Table. Like we kind of share our secrets. Not that I want to talk in those terms, and you all get smarter faster. So it's going to be a great place for all of that. Anyway, so let's move on to the topic, which is it's kind of, I guess, what you can learn. If I were to do this on the fly, like what you can learn from the summit, even if you weren't at the summit. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, just for format, I think we're going to talk about each of the 6 speakers, just very in brief, kind of what they talked about, and then our greatest takeaway. This is really funny. At the beginning of the show, we said we can all do our greatest takeaway, and Dave says he can't. But I think that once we start talking, Dave will remember, because he wasn't in the bathroom the whole time, and he wasn't on Xanax the whole time, right, Dave? There's a little bit in there.
There was some time I was lucid.
Awesome.
No, I remember specific things. I don't remember like individual things the speaker said, because when I was actually up there on stage, I'm pretty anxious, and I'm just looking for like the right thing to say, and I'm very like I'm just kind of lost in my own head. So, and I don't remember much. It's like a post-traumatic stress thing. Like, oh God, I was up there. I don't remember anything. So,
well, post-traumatic stress. All right. You hear that, all you veterans?
Tammy wants to know if you remember when she referred to you as the nose, the abs, and the issues, because that was kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Do you think Dave has some flashbacks?
I need therapy to help me remember.
Dave wakes up in the middle of the night thrashing. Oh, David Gogren.
No, Dave was funny because like he didn't say much, but every time he did say something, it was either very insightful or really funny. Like it was really, really funny.
Me or Gogren?
No, you.
Oh,
you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I did say David, which when have I ever called you David?
Only in bed.
So, okay.
I'm going to give David Wright the edge on the beard, but I'm going to give David Gogren the clear edge on the hair. Dude has like magical hair.
Oh my God.
And the accent.
Like a superhero. Yeah. You can feel the room swooning.
That was my something cool for the week. Like the dinner time conversation that I had with David Gogren. Because we were basically talking about all the horrible shit that people are up to, like because he's like investigative sort of blogger. It's part of what he does on his blog, and he knows a lot of inside shit, like the horrible scams that people are pulling. And oh my God,
I was making you wet.
I want to expose all of it. I want to write all about it, but it's like no, there's nothing I can do. So there's no point never doing anything.
You were just so happy. I mean, let's get real. We talked you into coming to Austin, but you were there for Gogren.
We ruined his life to get him to Austin.
Yeah. So you wanna start at the first?
Let's just
go in linear or in order.
Yeah. Let's run through the schedule. I was actually just thinking this. So we don't need to give you all the details, but oh, and by the way, 2018 is already booked. Like the venue is already booked. So we're already rolling on that.
And we're doing it in February next year, right?
Yes, because it's a less expensive and less busy time of year. And it'll be a good time for those of you who like are up north.
Yeah, as the Canadians told us, you're going to get a lot of Canadians.
Because February, like come down to Austin in February. It's still at, I actually don't have the URL. Christine, I'm sure we'll post it. And
it's smarterartistsummit.com.
But it's the old one's still up there. So we'll let you know in a minute. But anyway, so we did that. And then the first speaker was Chris Fox. And Chris talked about, what it actually takes to be a six-figure author. And he had a lot of, mindset stuff that I thought was really good. Were there favorite takeaways from Chris?
His dancing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, his dancing was pretty hot.
Sorry, real quick. Christine says sterlingandstone.net/summit2018 for now.
Yeah, I really appreciated that Chris started with mindset stuff because, in fact, there were a few moments with all the speakers where we really focused on mindset. And I think that's important because I think that we tend to focus on strategies, of course, and tactics, but mindset is something that if you get behind it in the right way, it fuels everything else. I mean, David and I have talked about this for years. I think, Johnny, you and I naturally fall into those rhythms anyway. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I would say that every single time you and I have something we're trying to work through, either together or for the company or in whatever context, or something that's troubling us or in any way like that, what we usually do is, okay, how do we reframe this? And really, what is that other than how do we change our mindset about this? Because then it just makes difficult things easy and easy things fun. And so I really, really like the mindset. But with
mindset, I just want to play off a reframing for a minute, if I could, because this is something came up recently about this, and Sean and I have gotten pretty good at reading each other's, I guess, intentions, but because it's like there'll be something that seems to be the matter or something that needs to be addressing, and then there's like we'll basically say, no, I get it. I get it on that logical level. I want you to help me reframe it so that basically I can feel better about it.
Right. And we actually use that exact language, what you just said.
Right. And it may sound immaterial. It may sound like, well, who cares? But it makes a huge difference. So an example from just kind of managing your own entrepreneurship business-wise or book-wise, like as an author, that it was actually from a year or two ago, was when Sean talked about, I got to go through and redo all what you were doing, like recompiles and changing CTAs and shit like that, which is really, really granular and tedious. Yeah. And so he was just like, well, fuck, I don't want to be doing this. And then he said, okay, hold on. Rather than I'm redoing compiles and redoing CTAs, it's inventory management, because that's how you make money. That's how you take your existing assets and make more money with them. And you may think like, well, whatever, but it makes a big difference because you suddenly want to spend time there.
Well, okay. So right now I'm doing a lot of employee management stuff. That's not fun, right? That's not fun.
Woo-hoo!
But wait, you know what is fun? Team building. It's the same shit. But employee management rankles me, and team building is like, oh, I'm putting together something for the future that's really awesome. So I don't like employee management. It makes me feel like I'm managing employees, right? But team building makes me feel like I'm building a team, and that's a really good thing. So I think mindset is super important. But I actually, my big takeaway for Chris will go to, oh, you know what? I want to say this wasn't even during his session. It was during one of the Q&As, but still it came from Chris, so I'm going to give it. Was when he asked where we thought indie publishing was in the long spectrum. And, is it early adopter? Is it already tired? And
I actually think, somebody asked that question and Chris answered it.
Are you sure? I think he stood up and asked that. It doesn't matter. We basically said, he said it's early adopter, and I just totally agree with that. And I think that in our space, we tend to think, oh, it's so late. Right? The gold's already gone from the hills. And that's just not true. I think we are still very much in the early adopter phase. And I think that Chris really gets that.
So let's just to keep it moving. We can always go back to our favorite moments from any of these people. But we did also do, I don't know, we probably don't want to go through all of these, but we broke these up with little 15-minute interviews with the people who did the apprentice program. And because they learned a lot, right? Like and it wasn't like, hey, look at the apprentice program. The apprentice program is great, because we're not doing the apprentice again. So it wasn't like meant to be as an advertisement, but it was, what were their biggest takeaways? And I think it was really interesting to see, like, what was Marcel's, like, as just as an example?
Marcel's was great. Marcel's was basically, I learned that I can be myself. And that sounds really,
which is a reframe, by the way.
Right. It sounds really on the nose, because Marcel was writing, it's a difficulty when, for example, you have a podcast like this and all the information is out there, and the three of us on a weekly basis are giving kind of common denominator advice, but it's very different when you have one-on-one. And so we learned that during The Apprentice, because I had a one-on-one with Marcel, and I realized that all of the advice that she was following was not individualized to her career goals, to her living situation, to her aspirations at all. And so once we kind of restructured that and said, okay, ignore everything that you know and tell me what books you actually want to write, what your living situation looks like, what you actually want to do from this. Because a lot of people who are in the indie space, they need to crank out a lot of books because they're trying to support a family and cover the same amount that they're making from their 9-to-5. That's a much different equation than someone like Marcel, who is very young, doesn't want to have a family, is traveling around, it's just different. Her numbers are different, and her ideas are really big, and she doesn't want to crank out book after book. She wants to really explore. So just having the knowledge base to know that she can structure her career completely different, I think was, I think it gave her a lot of levity and a lot
having
of growth.
Permission is what that is.
Yeah.
You have permission to do what you want to do. All the little things, we won't go through them all, but the little takeaways from The Apprentice, the apprentices were great. We really did have an amazing group of apprentices. I hope they all apply for Stone Table, because kind of wow. But yeah, so that was great.
Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to Matt, also Matt Larkin, because that dude just is like unflinching in trying. Like he kept coming back. Okay, do this, and he would go do it. He
does it, and he takes the advice. Like when you ask, oh my God, if you ask for advice from somebody that you respect and they give you advice, don't go, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna keep doing it my way. Like, what the fuck? Matt doesn't do that. He's very humble, and he just, when he gets advice from people that he actually asks advice of, he then does it, which is amazing.
Yeah, and Tammy, and in all caps in the chat, can I please second the shout out to Matt and Christine third? Yeah, he really played full out. It's also hard, I think, for some of these apprentices to stand in front of the whole audience and kind of deconstruct some of their time. I don't think that was easy. So big shout out to them. And just because we're already here, Rick Beard and Kristen Helling were the other two apprentices up there, and they did a great job. They all grew a tremendous amount in a year, and it was rewarding to watch, and I'm grateful that they were able to share that with everybody.
Yeah, those folks have a lot to share with a community now. So, all right. So anyway, so our next speaker was Calvin, and Calvin talked about personal finance, of course, in his own Calvin way. It was actually called "The Richest Man in Dead City: How to Build Wealth or Start a Zombie Apocalypse." So he started this metaphor of like zombies with compound interest, which we kind of lost that thread after a little while. But his session as a whole was just about finance. And this was an interesting mix of, like, some people really kind of already knew a lot of this, but a lot of people were like, oh my God, you're overwhelming me, tell me less and I'll ask for more information. But I think it really spoke to the idea that most writers kind of don't know what to do with finance, I think, is the bottom line there. The number of people that we've seen, because remember, when you're a writer, especially when you're making a full-time living as a writer, you get your money all in one lump, and then it's up to you to decide, like setting some aside for taxes and that sort of thing. And the number of times when
we have to pay taxes? Oh, shit.
Occasionally.
That's exactly what happens. Like, oh, I got all this money. And the number of times I've seen, like, I made so much money this year, rolling. And then April comes around and they're like, oh, I was supposed to keep some of that and set it aside for taxes. That sort of thing. You know, what do I do to
Yeah, I need to talk to Calvin so I can stop scrambling and saving for my fucking pay.
Dave's been a year behind since I met him.
Jesus Christ.
Well, okay. So I think my biggest takeaway on Calvin was simply that it's a discussion that needs to happen more often. So as Johnny alluded to, it did have the most feedback, because some people really did think, well, why are you talking about basic money stuff? We're authors. We know all this. And other people were very grateful.
They said the exact same thing, but with a question mark. Why are you talking more about personal finance? We're authors. We don't know this.
Right. And so I think just the need to have that conversation is really important. I think money is a mindset thing. And we actually talked a little bit about this previously in the weekend as just one of the topics of conversation about our relationship with money. And I think really taking the time to ask yourself what your relationship is with money and how you feel about money and whether you feel you deserve it less or more or whatever. I think that those are big questions to ask, and they're worthy questions to ask. And if you're really treating your author business as a business and you want to grow it and you want to scale it, you need to understand the principles of money, not just, yeah, Dave.
It's something that you're not really taught in school. At least when I was growing up, you weren't. Maybe
not at all. They do not teach money management.
Financial literacy is one of those things that the structure in place right now wants you to be stupid. They want you to keep spending your money on credit and just becoming a slave to credit card companies. And it is one of those things that once you're in, it's hard as hell to break out. And we don't know how to think about it. We're just, I don't know, unless you take the time to actually learn all this stuff, there's a good chance you're going to get screwed. And I appreciated Calvin's his talk, because it opened my eyes to a few things.
Yeah, me too. It made me really want to. I mean, not at some point, and Christine and Johnny, don't sweat, but at some point, I want to do some kind of a money thing for the community, because I think that is a place where we could provide some education that isn't out there, and that's helpful. I think it's a need. And
well, we could do an in-person. I mean, and not to go back into this, but the whole point of the new Stone Table structure is it would be really easy to just have one of the retreats on this.
Yeah, we could do that, and then just create something there. I mean, that's a rabbit hole. But anyway, that I really felt that. I felt like, okay, we need to talk about this as a community and as a culture more. I mean, we've talked about it for years about how it needs to be, talked about more as a culture. That's why the first thing I ever wrote as fiction was Penny to a Million, which was a kid's book about money, because it's not taught in schools. And, before I was ever writing, or when I wrote and treated it like porn, I didn't tell anybody, only Cindy knew I was writing. And that was the first conversation that led to that very first book. Why aren't they teaching money in school? So yeah, that was my favorite for Calvin.
Because the system wants to keep you dumb.
So after that, there was a lunch break, which is neither here nor there, except that I'm sure people had fun making connections. And actually, that was a big deal. Was even if you don't go to the summit, you got to interact and connect with people. The Smarter Artist Facebook group has been amazing for this. Just people getting to know each other. That's one of the things that, I mean, I've been to so many conferences and not even attended the conference. By the way, please actually attend our conference when you it's awesome. But I have, I used to go to South by Southwest all the time and Blog World and just interact with the people. And that was amazing. We had lunch with our volunteers that day, which was great. And with somebody who will be joining the team. I don't know if we want to mention that yet. Maybe it doesn't matter yet. All right, rabbit holes. So, and after the break, we had Jenna Sword, who Jenna talked about branding for authors, which is
people loved her too.
Yeah, Jenna is great because she's just so fun. Her energy is so good. And even the way Jenna stands is on brand. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah,
the way she stands is on Jenna's brand. So, but breaking down some of the ideas of that as an author, you have a brand, and your brand is basically any way that you or your stuff interacts with people. So when they run across your books, that's your brand. When they are interacting with, they're getting your emails, that's on brand. If you have something where people talk to you in person, so if you were a company and people call your customer support desk or your front desk, that's part of your brand. And so you have a brand overall, but then as a subset, you have sort of a mini brand for for instance, a genre you write in. So we have multiple genres. So our sci-fi kind of has its own brand, and then our horror or whatever has its own brand. And then series kind of have their own little sub-brand below that they all need to kind of look the same. And then I guess that would be it. But the idea of the different levels of what is good branding and what is a cohesive brand for you as a creator.
Yeah, I think my best takeaway with Jenna was just that, well, I guess two little ones. One is that, look, everybody has a brand. And if you think you don't, that probably means you have a shitty brand, right? But whether you like it or not, you're going out there into the world and whatever that public face is.
That's a great point, that you have a brand whether you cultivate it or not.
Right. And yeah, thanks, Christine. Jenna's site is youcanbrand.com. And she's just really great. And I loved, so this isn't really a takeaway, just something kind of amazing I learned about Jenna over the weekend, and doesn't surprise me at all. So Jenna is just a doer. You know, I've known Jenna for a year. I met her at Jonathan Field's Camp Good Life last year. And since then, she's tripled her revenue. She's just always like paying to learn new things and get new experiences. And I found out that she spent $60,000 in courses and coaching and stuff like that last year, which sounds like a crazy amount of money, but she's also scaling her business ridiculously fast and just learning and doing. And
so she's like paying an assistant, if I remember right, to go through all those courses and then convey, like give her the condensed version.
Yeah, and she's doing like a slumber party thing where her and her friends like go through the courses and then build shit. Like she's just,
which I said was the worst idea for a porno ever.
it is.
A slumber party with the courses.
She's just super, super smart and just really capable. And I think that she has a lot of insight that authors aren't really necessarily looking for. But once they realize that, oh, this is something that gives cohesion to everything that I do, and therefore it will help my bottom line for years to come, it's worth a bit of attention. And she is Stone Table. We will be doing something branding with her for sure. She's been wanting to do it for a long, long time.
Yeah, I need to talk to her about that whole how to stand thing, because I saw a video of Ben Hale online, and I see me in the background, and I just fucking hate the way I look from every angle but head on. And I'm just standing there like, I don't know what, it like a mountain of sloppiness. I don't know.
Do you remember when you had your handwriting analyzed and it determined that you were very happy inside?
Yeah, that was my other favorite part of the week. Yeah.
So
Tammy said I need those high heels she was wearing. Maybe I need that. Then I'll be
I don't even want to see Jenna's shoe collection. I can't imagine.
I think she bought shoes while we were there. I think she bought shoes and was just like, well, I bought some. No, she did, because she was wearing them. She was like, they're a little too big, but they were too cute. I had to get them. So that was fun. And, you know, then we did Q&A. Day 2 started with Clark Chamberlain, who is our story engineer. And I got to admit, I'd never seen Clark perform live. I'd never seen him in front of a group. And I knew he knew his shit. Like, I know he knows story like nobody's business. But seeing Clark in front of a group doing like in his element.
Oh, he's so professorial.
With his bow ties on too.
Yeah.
It's like a double bow tie. Right. It was like a double bow tie. And I was like, I know that it was our conference and I shouldn't have been able to be blown away by something at my conference, but I was. Clark really killed it. And he talked a lot about the need to, make connections with your readers. And that's how you turn them from they ran across your book to they love your book. And we talked a lot about delving in the story and making your protagonists so that they were relatable to your audience so that they could see themselves in them, but then they aspire as well to where's the best way to begin breaking down some of the lessons from Clark's?
Well, I think Clark's was interesting because he clearly had a whole hour presentation, but he was racing through it. Like there were a little bit of nerves there, and we were half an hour in, and all the information was there. So then we had a great Q&A afterwards. And I think the Q&A was my favorite part because the information delivery was great, but then breaking it down and having people, able to ask questions and his responses to those questions were really, really great. And so I liked just the confidence that everybody in the audience had to ask really great questions and to stand in that line. And he was fast and he was really warm. He's a really warm speaker. He was really vulnerable too. And I think that, I think that's great because I think that when if you're trying to be emotionally resonant with people, then you have to be emotionally resonant yourself. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. And he basically did this really cool meta thing where he was able to prove his point by being vulnerable in front of us. And, you know, his talk itself was emotionally resonant.
Dave, did you have any takeaways from anything? We're 1.5 days in now. Was there anything that was, were you there?
What? Oh, I'll talk about my takeaway at the end of the conversation. It was a more generalized one, but I think it's important.
At the end of the conversation, okay.
Yeah. When we're done talking about all the speakers, I want a general sort of overall thing I gotta say.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, okay. So I'll add a specific takeaway for Clark. It was that you can't be apologetic about the way that you're writing. So if you want to, I mean, his metaphor, he gave all the attendees his punch them in the gut course. And just look at the title of that, punch them in the gut. It's visceral, it's violent, and that's the point. He said you need to deliver everything. And then at the end, that's fine. They can hurl your book across the room. They could chuck it, against the wall. It doesn't matter. You don't want to pull punches. You want to, be that aggressive with them, but also completely deliver on the story.
Right. Don't write a story where just kind of stuff happens. It's how do you reach the limits? How do you go as high and as low as you possibly can? Remembering that both ends are necessary, high and low, within the realm of a story.
Punch them in the gut, then kick their dog.
Yes. Well, you're moving up, Dave. You must be Austin Dave, because normally that would be kill their dog. So the fact that the dog is only being kicked now is great. All right. So and then I actually, because I'm looking at the roster right now on my phone, and I'm like, well, I don't have to mention the breaks, but it did remind me to mention that what is now a tradition, I told him this, is Damon Courtney brought beaver nuggets again. And I'm like, dude, you got to bring beaver nuggets all the time now. Like, that's just a thing now. Like every time now you're gonna have to bring those fucking beaver nuggets, which is like, there's this, it's a gas station, but it's also a phenomenon down here.
It is the best gas station in the world because their bathrooms are every facility, every store, every movie theater, every restaurant should have bathrooms like this. They have like a
moonshine could be coming out of the pumps. Dave is fine.
Wow, did you cut your this episode brought to you by Buc-ee's gas.
Wow.
Yeah, the gas they're always clean. They're known for the gas. That's how they got known. The other stuff. They are. Damon gave me a whole course history.
And they have a really creepy mascot that's like Bucky the Beaver, and he's just like, there's something going on under the table with that beaver. Somebody's
Bucky and Pedo Bear are friends.
Yeah. But anyway, he brought beaver nuggets, which are basically like corn pops. Somebody at just the chat flashed by, and I actually didn't see who it was, mentioned also tradition Ben Hale, but this is actually not a tradition for a very specific reason. I will mention Ben just as a fun thing when we get to the end, because he did it at the end of day 2. Our next speaker was our own Christine Niles, who talked about productivity. This was one of Robin's favorite sessions, shockingly, since she's a person. But this was productivity. So we get this a lot. I've realized quite separately, like I keep saying that I don't know how to define our business. When people say, what do you do? It's like, well, we do this, we do this. And so people get confused, but then they also say, well, how the hell do you do so much? And so I think we're all in a business where we're trying to do a lot, even if it's just within the realm of books, even if it's within, write it, edit it, or get it edited, get a cover, you got to do all these things. So how do you fit it all in, and how do you draw boundaries? Because that was another key thing, was not just productivity with Christine's talk, but how do you set those boundaries? Because if you don't, then your work consumes your life. So there's this principle called, one of the things that we talked about, I actually don't remember if it was part of Christine's talk or if it came up during the Q&A, but the idea of just really scheduling everything is a great way to draw boundaries, to increase productivity and to create a wall so that your work doesn't take over your life, is just to schedule everything. So if you schedule, I'm going to do this block of time, I'm going to work on the calendar, I have a 2-hour writing block. It's amazing how much that trick of just scheduling it can actually make you get that done, and the work will fit into the time that you allow. and not expand beyond it, but also scheduling time for yourself, scheduling sort of self-care time. Like, Sean and I both have a date day with our wives on.
Oh, I thought you meant.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I thought that was coming. But that, putting that on the calendar is a great way to make sure that it actually gets done, rather than just like, well, I just ended up answering emails and Facebook comments about my work again for that entire day and not feeling like I got anything done.
Yeah, my takeaway was more about Christine personally than anything else, because a year ago.
Are you talking about assign your spouse Asana tasks?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about how much, we've seen Christine grow in a year, because a lot of these things were things that she was struggling with when she first came aboard, and she's just, has really relaxed into that and become a leader, and is just doing so much for our company. And she was the perfect person to be able to deliver this information, because we watch her do it week by week by week by week. It's not something she's just talking about. It's something that she's living and breathing and excelling through. So my biggest takeaway there was just listen to everything Christine says.
Well, it's also, to spin off of yours, it is amazing what happens in a year, because, this was the second year of the summit. Sean was just talking about seeing Christine grow. Last year's summit, Christine attended as an attendee. Like she wasn't working for the company. She was soon thereafter. And it's amazing to realize that she wasn't an employee a year ago. But, we saw a lot of people who had been there just a year ago, and now they were attending they were returning for the second year of the summit. And to see how far people came along, I mentioned the example of the apprentices, like that was a 9-month program, seeing how much those people changed. So there is a certain, I realize this is a little maybe overly rah-rah, but there is a certain amount of just kind of stick with it and actually do the fucking work. And it's amazing what can happen in a year.
Yeah, I think with Christine and with the apprentices and with just other people we talked to, it was amazing to see that transformation. And you could see it happening too with, people right now, the next day. There were people who said, okay, I don't know why, but I haven't published this yet. And 3 days later, after the summit, they're publishing work. They're getting out there, they're doing it. So that was just really, really amazing.
And then our last speaker was David Gaughran, who Dave has a hard on because he's got that sexy accent.
Who do you think has a bigger crush on David, or Dave or Tammy?
Dave.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, fighter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And David Gaughran talked about the reader's journey, which is sort of a way of flipping the whole funnel thing on its end. Basically, we talk in terms of funnels from our perspective as the creators. How do we get people to buy the next book and the next book and all that stuff? It's still very valid, but looking at this from the other way around, what journey does the reader experience? It's a customer-centric thing, which, even just beyond books, we've started focusing on a lot here at Sterling and Stone with the things that we're doing. So it was really resonated.
Yeah, I felt really in parallel with David through all of that. We've been talking about the customer journey, the reader journey, audience journey. We've been talking about all of this. So we didn't know that when David first had his talk. We just knew David, whatever he was going to say to our audience was going to be amazing. But yeah, there's a lot of parallels there, and I can't wait for him. He's actually going to write about this, and I can't wait to read it. I know it's just going to be fantastic.
And I don't know how much is public, so I don't want to say too much, but David had gone through some, recent personal events, and I'm glad that he was able to make it. And it meant a lot to us that he was there.
So do we want to talk a little bit about what the reader's journey actually means?
Well, yeah, it's basically, you're not going with the old thing, the old funnel design, which is get somebody in and, upsell them on the other books in your catalog. It's the same thing, but it's mindset. Okay. So if we're changing the mindset here, so it's not about grab the customer with free and then make sure that they keep reading. It's really about treat your reader like a friend and make sure that her experience from book to book to book is, really seamless and really warm and really friendly. And you have to think about what it feels like to be the reader. And I think that's such a great message, because we're so focused on what it's like to be the author and what it's like to get our stuff out there and hit those pre-orders and on and on and on and on. But a lot of times that's actually costing us money, because if we really focus on the reader journey, then that's going to make a big difference. So just in a local way, for both Collective Inkwell and Realm and Sands, we've been very guilty of this in the past. What do we want to write? Well, is that as important as what the reader wants to read next? What she's been looking forward to, what she's been promised, White Space Season 3, right? The Beam Season 4. These are things that we've started that we're not, finishing out. And so that's part of it, but it's also just, how do you message them? How often do you email? Anything like that. It's really not a question of what is best for my authorship and my marketing and my funnels, but what is best for the reader. And ultimately that's going to be best for the author too.
Balancing it with, balancing your needs with their needs. So you don't want to neglect your individual artistic, needs, basically, for like what would be most commercial is the simplest distillation of what do the readers want most. But definitely considering them and meeting them where they are, and messaging was a good point. I'm going to make a little bit of an analogy, so stick with me on this. But my climbing gym has recently really been pissing me off, and I like this place. So every once in a while, when you they have to strip the walls down, take all the holds off, and then they make new problems, new routes. And so this whole one section they've stripped down because they have to reconfigure it. Like the wall has to change, and this takes weeks. And so motherfuckers decided they're going to strip everything else because they're having a competition coming up. So it means that there's basically nowhere to climb. So I get it. They're having a competition that fits their business model. They need to set, and they need to have everything ready. And then I'm just like, okay, so what about the members, the people who are paying every single fucking month or for this? And I get that they need to do it, but what if the messaging was a little different? What if they let us know? What if they stripped half of that other big wall rather than the entire damn thing at once, even though that's more convenient for them? So I think that when you're looking at your books, try and look at, say, if I'm going to be doing something that maybe isn't in the sweet spot of that reader, then how do I let them know? How do I let them know what's coming up? How do I set the stage and expectations for them? If I'm going to be diverging into a new series, then maybe I set the stage and let them know where that's coming. If a book was free and it's no longer free, or if a book is going to become free, how do you lead them through that? How do you meet them where they are through your contact with them on social media or in your email list, and just kind of take them by the hand so that they aren't shocked and surprised and, in my case, annoyed?
I like how Johnny's the thing he uses for us all to relate to is his rock climbing thing.
Well, I would think you'd be able to relate to that, right?
Yeah,
like,
all the time.
Bank was closed because they needed.
Oh my God! Just because you've never I don't even know. I don't know where to go with that.
Among rock climbers in our audience, it's got to be less than 1%.
I would argue that you can still take value from my metaphor, even if you're not a rock climber.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, I agree. I would use my metaphor with the gym, actually. So
it's all about exercise with us, isn't it, Dave?
No, I'm doubling down on this shit. So
of course you are. You guys are dating.
Let me tell you what happened at the juice bar the other day. Raw juice bar.
My
kale shake.
My
gym
oxygen bar.
Because I pay per month, so I can go unlimited times instead of per session. All right. But my payment, I originally joined on the 21st. So every time I want to map out, I know when I want to go the entire month, but I can't schedule, even if it's the 18th or the 20th, I can't schedule anything past the 21st until my new bill hits. And I think that's bullshit, because I pay all the time. And so I want to go, all of a sudden my class that I want to take is filled because I didn't get it set up.
They're treating you like a criminal, like you might not pay again, right?
It's just that that's annoying. Don't do that to me. I pay you every month. So it is the little things. I'm a big student on customer service right now. And that is a little, it doesn't matter if it's a gym or not, Dave. What if they say they're a restaurant, but they only have waffle fries for adults to eat?
What if you keep trying to go to McDonald's to get that ice cream cone, and motherfuckers keep telling you that the machine is out of order when
now that is
they
something
just don't want to clean it?
We can all relate to. By the way, the McDonald's ice cream and shake machine being down is it's a meme. It's out. I've noticed people bitching about it a lot. So.
I love how people talk about it's down like it's a computer system. It's a fucking Mr. Softy. All right. So I want to close the loop because I did mention this, and then we can talk about Dave's big takeaway and other things. But I did mention that I would mention Ben Hale, who's an author and friend of ours. And you got to stop that motherfucker. I'm never coming to live podcast ever again. So Sean, by the way, he's taking his shirt off and dancing. I'm not even kidding. You think I'm joking?
There's got to be a way for you. Right. Whoever's doing this thing should be able to click on him and make him
the star of the show so you all can see it. Anyway, so Ben last year learned everybody's name, and last year's summit was what I want to say 170.
It was 150.
150. So he learned the names of 150-ish people in the room, and which was
including Randall, the sound guy.
Including Randall, the sound guy, who it's not like it's a trick. It's not like he's got this photographic memory, but he wanted to demonstrate that and just show, like I met all these people. And so we kind of put him on the spot and made him do it again. And I was just like, okay, so make sure you meet that guy. So he did successfully learn the name of, in this case, almost 250 people and recited them all. And it was amazing. It took about 15 minutes. But the real takeaway on this was, and I think this is kind of like a networking metaphor, not in the sleazy way of networking, is that it wasn't about like a trick. He said that, number one, he said, you are worth remembering. Like that is the important thing. And he actually got kind of emotional. It was really great.
He said, everybody but Dave is worth remembering.
Is worth remembering. But at the end, he said, it's not a trick. He said, the way that I learn these people's names is I give them 100% of my attention. And I just talk to them. Like that's the quote unquote trick.
That's the secret.
That's the secret, is just really, really giving 100% of your attention to somebody, not being distracted, not wondering if somebody sent you a new email, and just really understanding that they are worth remembering.
For the record, I've done that and it doesn't work for me. So I think clearly he's just smarter, or he's got tricks.
Well, he does have mnemonics that he uses, but a little bit, but it basically is you want to remember them. But the reason that I brought this up is because somebody said that was a tradition, and it's not, because Ben said, I'm not doing it next year. So he said it was really, really hard. And plus he doesn't want it to become about him, which is really noble.
Yeah. So, he's a great guy.
So anyway, so did you want to share your real big takeaway, Dave?
My takeaway is like I said before, I was very anxious going to this thing, and I heard from a lot of people that were anxious and didn't go last year, and a lot of them like reached out an email or just came up to me at the summit, and they said they were really glad that they got over that fear, and they thanked me for that email that we sent out right before. Which I think a lot of people had to get over a part of themselves to come here, to be open, to be vulnerable, and to insert themselves into a situation that's not comfortable. It's not comfortable for me either. I'm up there on stage, and I hate pretty much every moment of it because I don't like attention like that. Like on the show, it's different because, I'm in my office. I'm like, I can't feel 100 or 250 people staring at me wondering, my God, how fat is he under that shirt?
I did talk to a lot of people, and they said that. They were like,
that was a meme,
wondering it the whole time. I couldn't pay attention because I was wondering how fat.
I saw somebody wrote that in Sharpie in the bathroom.
How fat is Dave? Guess. It's one of those things. It's very difficult, especially for the introverted writers among us that don't deal well with other people. And I know that, being in a room with people, like it just so close together, it can be uncomfortable, but it's also like once you can get over that in your head, even a little bit, and just make a connection with other people. Like everybody I talked to anyway, just said, how awesome it was, and like they didn't think that they could do it, and they were able to find someone to talk to, and they actually enjoyed the experience. I mean, there might be people that just fucking hate it and just didn't say anything. Like I get the feeling though that a lot of people that were anxious were no longer anxious by the second day, and really enjoying the company of the other smarter artists. And like I said last year, this community just amazes me. Like all the insight everybody has, especially in the Q&A. That second day Q&A is like one of my favorite things, because People are rising up, raising their hands, and everybody knows like a little bit of something that other people don't know. And it's kind of like putting pieces of a puzzle together where we're all able to sort of figure this out together. And that shared knowledge and wisdom in the room is just absolutely invaluable and amazing. And I love that about our community. And also all the people that were cool to me and, came up and hugged me and said,
Ryan says meeting day was awkwardly awesome.
and said I was their favorite, not those other two jokers. Like that meant a lot to me. So,
well, I think you might be joking, but
we always tell you you're the favorite, Dave. That's why we can't hold these things without you.
No, I am joking, but it does feel nice to like feel that sort of acknowledgement, because this is a doing a podcast is sort of a lonely pursuit, and writing is a lonely pursuit, and to come together with other people that get you and they appreciate you and can talk to you, that's an amazing thing.
So in conclusion, it was awesome. In conclusion, February will also be awesome, and looking really forward to it. So thank you for everybody who went. Thank you to everybody who didn't go, and it's just an amazing part of our community. I think that we continually, we're basically continually reinforced that our community kind of is amazing. It was a very, it was a strangely emotional conference on top of everything else, and I've never been to other conferences that are like that. So I really appreciate that about our community. It's so open and supportive and all that good stuff. Mark Lefebvre did a great write-up, also known as Mark from Kobo, in a post on the Kobo Writing Life blog. It's too long for me to read the URL, but go look for it. It was very, very good. It includes the video of Ben reading off all the names. And so it was great to meet all of you, and we'll see you next year. For those of you who come, and for those of you who don't, we'll continue to meet you virtually, I guess. So that's about it. Any final words from you guys, or are we good?
No, I'm so grateful that we have a community that allows us to put this kind of thing on. And I am stupidly excited about next year. We have a much bigger space. We'll have room to breathe. And I like the time of year that it is. And the community just keeps getting better and stronger. So fuck yeah. Year one was great. I think year two was better in a lot of ways, but year one had that, you can only have a first kiss once. So year one was special for that. Year two had a couple of hiccups, but overall was pretty amazing. And year three, third time's going to be a charm.
So that is a Smart Earth Summit. That is self-publishing podcast for this week. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.